Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the call. My name is Dr. Curt Ficenec, and I'm up here in beautiful Fargo, North Dakota. I'm up in the rural edges of the town. Anyhow, we're in the midst of summer here, and down in Australia, you guys are in your winter time, but you don't get near the snow that we get. And so it's morning here, evening down there, and today we've had a lot of people asking about different products, and we decided that, a group of us decided that, hey, why don't we try and discuss products every once in a while and just kind of go with the same format that we did when we talked about the new AGE pill, when we talked about the age pill. We're going to have kind of a group panel discussion, and if you'd ever like to join the panel and ask questions and become part of it, become interactive with the group, please email me at docfizz@me.com, docfizz@me.com, and I can certainly get you started with that, because I'm always looking for people who want to participate, and because it helps build your credibility, it helps build your business when you do that. So please get in touch with me, or you can call me 701-680-9548, and we can get you going that way as well. But today we're going to talk about Fucoidan. It's the number one product that Sizzle has. It's been the number one product forever, and there's a number of reasons for that. And basically, it really is just a super product that you can give it to anybody with any health condition, even if they don't have anything wrong, and they will notice changes. And I always tell people that when I'm talking to them about Sizzle, is I say, here, just try this one product, and honestly take a shot glass of this every single day. And in 30 days, if you don't notice a difference, give me the empty bottle back. I'll buy it back from you, and it won't cost you anything. And so I make it a risk-free offer for them. And I've only, I think, twice had to buy the bottle back, and that's out of 200-some people that I've gotten started with taking the Sizzle product. So welcome to the call, Andrea and Trevor and Katie. If you want to hit *6 on your handset there on your phone, and let's get talking about Fucoidan. There's so many things we can say about it, and so we'll get started from there. I'll let you guys ask the questions.
Yeah, Dr. Curt, this is Andrea. I've learned that Fucoidan is a substance found in brown seaweed from a certain part of the world. Can you expound on the resource more and the chemical makeup of Fucoidan?
Well, Fucoidan comes from over in the Tonga region is where we get it from, and it's important where you get it, because brown seaweed, of course, it grows in other areas. It grows up around Japan, places like that. But with the problems with the tsunami a number of years ago, and the resulting problem with the nuclear power plant boiling over and spewing radioactive material into the ocean, you really don't want to get the brown seaweed from up around Japan, because it's tainted with the radioactive material. And so it's important to point out that we do get ours from down around the Tonga region. And why is that important? Is because just like the jet stream flows kind of north and then across and to the east, the ocean stream, the ocean current, kind of has a current as well, and it flows up from Japan. It follows the coast and travels north, and the Tonga region is south of Japan, and so that way it doesn't get contaminated with any radioactive material, and that's important to point out to people. So it's been tested, and there's no radioactivity found in the area where we get our brown seaweed. But it's a plant that grows 20 to 30 feet below the surface of the ocean. And I just tell people this, is that when plants grow, they absorb minerals and nutrients from the soil, and it keeps the plant, the nutrients go into the plant. And you can imagine that if you have a plant growing in soil that's got lots of nutrients, that plant's going to have a lot of nutrients. And in the plants, that we grow for food, whether you have your own garden or whether you're farming, the soil's been depleted of a lot of minerals, and so the plant's not going to be as nutritious. And one of the ingredients that we used to find in all plants was organic sulfur. And when you ate wheat, or when you ate corn, when you ate barley, when you ate any kind of beans, peas, whatever, there was all kinds of organic sulfur found in the plant because of the soil, and that's one of the ingredients that's been farmed out. That's when the nutrients have been farmed out. And so in the ocean, deep in the ocean, because of the sea life and the constant replenishing of the nutrients into the soil in the ocean is very rich in nutrients. And so these plants like brown seaweed are able to absorb and extract the nutrients from deep within the ocean floor, and one of them being organic sulfur. So when you take a look at the structure of Fucoidan, it's real high in lots of nutrients. One of them being its organic sulfur. It's highly sulfonated. You'll hear that word when Tom talks about the Fucoidan extract. And when you look at the healing process within the human body, and not just human body, within animals too. I've been giving my dog Fucoidan, and when you look at the healing property, there's a certain step in the healing process where you need to have enough organic sulfur. You need to sulfonate, and when that sulfonation process doesn't take place, the healing process can't be completed. And so easily, just think of it like this, where you have an incomplete healing process because it doesn't skip that step. It stops. If you don't have enough sulfur, no sulfonation, can't finish the healing process. And so if you have plenty of sulfur, it's going to speed the healing process up. So that's really kind of a quick overview on Fucoidan. Does that answer your question, Andrea?
Yeah, that's interesting information. I read somewhere in research that Fucoidan is good for leaky gut syndrome. Can you explain what that is and why it's important to protect yourself from that?
Yeah, well, I talk a lot about leaky gut because it's something that's we see it so much, and a lot of people don't even realize that they have it. But in your body, you have a layer of mucus in every internal surface that's exposed to the outside environment, and really like your nasal passages. Air from the outside environment can get up into the nasal passages, in your mouth, in your esophagus, in the gut lining, in the bladder, in your lungs. There's a layer of mucus, and in that mucus, there's friendly bacteria and other microbes that live within that environment. There's actually more friendly bacteria in your body than there are human cells. You have more friendly bacterial life than you do human cells. So think about that. Who's controlling who in this situation, right? But the intestine is really important, because when you eat something, when you ingest something, obviously food isn't always as pure as you think, and so there's going to be toxins on it, but also air gets into your gut, and microbes, whether they're good bacteria or bad bacteria, they get in through your mouth, and you don't want the bad stuff just getting in there and then absorbed into your body, and so something has to protect you. The other thing is that you don't want to absorb nutrients from the food that you eat before it's completely broken down. And I had a discussion on the Sizzle Doctor's Clinic a number of weeks ago. If you want to hear the whole discussion, I mean, DW and I talk about it for about a half hour. But what makes up I'm trying to think here. What makes up the layer that gets to decide what gets in and what doesn't get in, the selective permeability of the intestine, and that's the friendly bacteria. And because of all the antibiotics that are found in our food, and I mean, you could be like me where you don't get vaccinations and you don't take antibiotics, and you're still getting antibiotics because it's being fed to the animals that you eat. I would say that based on what I've read, 80% of antibiotics produced in the world are given to the cattle and to the meat industry. And so when you eat a hamburger, you're getting antibiotics in your food, and you don't necessarily destroy the antibiotics in that meat when you cook it, and they kill off the friendly bacteria, and now that selective permeability is destroyed, and so things can get in but that aren't supposed to get in. And what they found is that Fucoidan actually helps restore that healthy selective permeability of the intestine. So that's kind of give you a background on leaky gut and what they found with Fucoidan. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I saw it, but I think I saw something about there's that bacteria that causes ulcers in the stomach, and that Fucoidan helps with that in some capacity.
You bet, yeah, because of the fructose, right? Fructose. When you see the any word or any of these words ending in OSE, Fucose, fructose, that's a sugar molecule. So it comes from Fucoidan, and it works as a prebiotic. And so the good bacteria can live on fructose, where the bad bacteria can't live on it. They have to have glucose. So you bet, yeah, it's going to help. It's going to help build up the good, healthy bacteria, and they kill off the bad bacteria.
Okay. Thanks. In some other information I saw, I read that it activates NK, or natural killer cells, in the body. What do natural killer cells do in our immune system?
Well, think of the natural killer cells. If you've ever played or seen the video game Pac-Man, natural killer cells are like giant Pac-Man going around the body, kind of mediating the cell response, killing off the unfriendly cells, killing off cancer cells, these rogue cells that start growing in your body. That's the function of the natural killer cells are. And so what they found with Fucoidan is that it actually increases the number of the natural killer cells. But the other thing that it does is it improves the function of the natural killer cells. So not only does it increase the number, but it makes them so they can work better.
That's great. I like that. Katie and I were talking. I think Katie has some questions too. Go ahead, Katie.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Andrea. So, Curt, I wanted to ask about viral infections. You know, I love Fucoidan. I've been taking it for quite some time now. I've had, I do get the occasional cold sore. which is of the herpes virus, and I note that it does help with viral infections. Can you explain a little bit how that works and why that is?
How does it help out with viral infections is what you're asking?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Well, you got to look at viral infections, how they actually work. I don't think a lot of people understand that. When you take a look at, say, the bird flu, okay? A couple of years ago we heard about the bird flu. Everybody's getting the bird flu. And I don't think anybody really realizes, okay, this is a flu virus. It's a virus. And it's found in birds, certain kind of birds. And you got to ask yourself, like I did. I mean, don't you ever ask yourself the question, how in the world can a virus mutate from a bird to a human? It didn't make sense to me, and so I had to go research that. I wanted to find out why does that happen, and so when you look at it, it basically explains how viruses multiply. And what they do is, so you get in contact with a bird flu virus, it gets in your body, and when a cell divides and it's going to grow, what it does is the DNA splits in through a process with RNA and transcription. Basically, your body builds the new DNA, and it transfers the code so that you have an exact copy of your DNA being replicated in your body. Well, viruses are a little different. What they do is when they split, when the two strands split, one half goes and looks for something similar to the half that it split from, and then the other half goes and looks for another half that it's split from. And so what it'll do is it'll grab part of your body's DNA, your RNA, and it'll attach onto it. So now it's effectively mutated from a bird virus to a Katie virus, and so now it's mutated. It's different, so it's not the same as the virus, the flu virus that you got from the bird, and then you cough or sneeze, and I catch it from you. Well, now that virus, the Katie virus, gets into Curt, and it mutates again because my cells, my DNA is just a little bit different than your DNA, and so what happens is it splits, and now it's a new virus again, and that's the problem. Why you can't make an antibiotic work, because this thing is mutating so quickly. I mean, the viruses are mutating so quickly. You can't. It's not as easy to kill. Well, what Fucoidan does, based on everything that I've read, and there's a number of ingredients besides Fucoidan that'll do this, but Fucoidan has the ability to help stop that replication process, and as it stops the replication process, it's effectively going to make the virus so it basically kills itself that way, and then on top of it, with the Fucoidan boosting all the immune properties within your body, and boosting the intestinal permeability, the mucous membrane permeability, so it's more selective. That's how it works and helps kill off the viruses. My dog, last week I went and visited my brother, and I left my dog at the kennel, and he caught kennel cough, and I decided to go the route of using natural products, and I'm using Fucoidan with him. I mix it in with his food, and it's amazing how quickly he's getting over the kennel cough using Fucoidan.
That's fascinating. Thank you.
You bet.
Moving on to the subject of, I guess, insulin and diabetes. So, obviously quite a lot of people suffer from insulin resistance and diabetes. How can Fucoidan support that? in the body, and what can it do for somebody who's suffering that type of condition?
Well, what I've read up on it is that what it does, it increases the secretion of the insulin, and so you have more of an insulin response because you have more insulin. And so when I did my talk on this, again, the Sizzle Doctor Clinic call that we do every Tuesday, in the first 12 weeks of the year, all 12 weeks, January, February, and March, we talked about weight loss. And in one of the talks, I did mention that Fucoidan, what it does, if you take it before you eat, like 15 minutes, 20 minutes before you eat, it actually increases the insulin. And what that'll do is it'll keep the sugar from spiking, and so that's how it works with the insulin response.
Okay, great, awesome. So,
and I think, Katie, it might have something to do with the fact that, again, you got to remember that Fucoidan contains fucose. Fucose is a different type of sugar, so that might be the primary reason why.
Okay, great. So, there's a lot of research on pubmed.gov or .com. You can go to either of those sites, and there's a lot of research there. And if you type in Fucoidan, there's a ton of studies that come up. I think there's over 1,400, and I noticed that it's increasing each year. So what is your thoughts on why it is increasing? Doesn't seem to be like a fad type ingredient or product.
Yeah. Well, and Katie, the answer to that really is that drug companies, pharmaceutical companies, researchers, scientists, they look at natural ingredients and they go, okay, why is that working? I mean, here we got a seaweed. I mean, it's a weed. It grows in the sea. It's cheap. It's and it works. I mean, look at the things that we've already talked about just in the first few minutes of this call. I mean, my gosh, it helps with leaky gut syndrome. It helps with viral. It helps with infections. It helps with insulin response. I mean, we're talking about a seaweed. And so these researchers, they're going, how does that work? How does that work? And their reason would not be the same as mine. I mean, my reason to look into the research would be to get this out to people so that everybody could start taking some brown seaweed every single day, or the extracts from the brown seaweed. But the drug companies, they have a little bit different reason for what they're doing. They want to find out how does it work, and then they want to take and they want to copy the molecule chemically in a lab, and then they want to design a pharmaceutical drug that looks like and acts like Fucoidan, or like parts of Fucoidan. They're not going to do the whole Fucoidan molecule. They're going to use parts of it, and they're going to design a drug that acts like it, and that's worth how many billions of dollars if they can come up. I mean, just think if they came up with a chemical made in a lab that did everything like we just talked about. What if they came up with something like that? So of course they're doing tons of research because that's what they're trying to figure out. I mean, how do they alter the Fucoidan molecule just a little bit? Because if you alter it so it's not the same as it was in nature, now it's a drug. Now they can patent it, because you can't patent Fucoidan, but you can patent a drug. So it's really developing drugs and pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, that's a real eye-opener. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. The other question I wanted to ask you was, I noticed there's quite a few books online on Amazon about Fucoidan. There's one book called The Power of Fucoidan. Can you tell me a little bit about that book in particular, or any of the other books, and how they came about and some of the content, if you're familiar with any of it?
Yeah, well, I think that everybody was just truly amazed at what they were seeing with this Fucoidan. I mean, obviously, if you're hearing about Fucoidan for the first time, if you're listening to this call right now, I mean, you got to be saying the same thing that I said the first time I heard about Fucoidan. You got to go, wow, really? And so these researchers, they wanted to get the information out, and so they started writing books about it. The one particular book, The Amazing Powers of Fucoidan, what that researcher, what these researchers wanted to do is really talk a lot about the Fucoidan. But they and I'm trying to think how to say this, is that because here in the United States we can't make medical claims. I think it's really similar down in Australia. You can't make medical claims because of your TGA. FDA doesn't allow us to make medical claims, and anything that I've said so far, I'm not trying to make any kind of medical claims at all. I'm just saying that there's research that shows that this is what the Fucoidan can do. And so when you look at the powers of what this Fucoidan molecule can do, I mean, it's truly amazing. So these guys just wanted to get the word out, so they wrote books on it, and there's a lot of research that says that Fucoidan has what they call anti-angiogenic properties, which means that it cuts off the blood supply to tumors. And so in several of the books, or in a couple of the books, they talk about the anti-tumor activity of Fucoidan, and so you really need to look at the book and read that part of it to understand that.
Curt, I think for our listeners that we might want to explain the spelling of the actual substance Fucoidan versus our product Fucoidan, so that if they want to go out and do research on this, they can find it.
You bet. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, that in order for us to call our product Fucoidan, we actually changed the spelling just a little bit. So the sizzle spelling is Fucoydon, and the scientific name, the name that you'll find it spelled in research, is Fucoidon. So instead of OY, it's OI. And so when you go research, just type that in there, and if you go to PubMed.gov, it's there's like Katie said, over 1,400 research articles on this. So it's highly researched. It's not something of does it work. It's like, what else does it do that we haven't figured out yet.
Thanks.
Hey, Curt. Hi, girls. Hi, Curt. I got a question for you, Curt. The Japanese seem to have quite an affinity to Fucoidan, and as we know that the Fucoidan is our number one selling product for the moment. Why have the Japanese got such an affinity to Fucoidan?
Well, I think that because of the fact that it grows in that area of the world is where the Fucoidan plant grows, and so the ancient let's call them sea harvesters or sea farmers, they started gathering this up, and you got to remember that here even in the United States and down in Australia, I mean, the Aborigine people in Australia, they've got their ancient recipes and medicines that they use natural plants from. Here in the United States, the Native Americans, they have their natural plants, they have their natural remedies. The medicine men from the tribes they knew what to use. They would grind up roots from red root and different trees and plants, and each one had medicinal properties. And that's the same thing with the ancient people from over in the Southeast, the South Pacific. They just happened to start grinding up the dried seaweed, and they found out that it had amazing healing properties. And they didn't know how it did it. They just knew that it worked, and it wasn't until the last really 100 years that we've really decided that we have to figure out how do things work, which is great too. I mean, I love the science, but yeah, they started harvesting it and using it and found out that it worked, and
yeah, okay. Yeah, I believe the Alkanoans, I believe have got quite a affinity toward it, and I believe is it correct that they've got a university over there that is just based around Fucoidan itself? They do a lot of work on Fucoidan over there.
Yeah, from what I understand, there's an entire branch of the University of Tokyo that studies Fucoidan. I mean, I believe that they've got their own patents on some of the Fucoidan, and they've used it for different kinds of medical research, and found some amazing discoveries with Fucoidan, and it was quite expensive to get the extracts to take. I mean, you obviously, like with a lot of plants, if you eat the actual plant, how much do you actually have to eat to get enough of the active extracts to make a difference? And so to concentrate it down takes research, and it costs money. And so, I mean, I've heard it was hundreds of dollars to get a month's supply of Fucoidan. And when Tom, when he started Sizzle, that was one of the things that he looked at, and he said there was just no way. It was too expensive. There had to be a better way. And so Tom spent millions of dollars designing and patenting equipment that he can take this Fucoidan, and he can actually increase. Remember earlier in the talk, I was talking about sulfonation. He figured out how to take some of the inactive Fucoidan molecules and actually sulfonate them. So our product is actually more sulfonated than any other Fucoidan molecule on the market. We've taken where most Fucoidan uses one of the three. I believe it's the U molecule. Ours uses the U, F, and the G, all three, because Tom's figured out how to make them active through sulfonation. And so our product, and then it's highly concentrated because of the fact that he figured out how to spray dry it. And if you ever get a chance to get out to Salt Lake City, you gotta get a hold of Sizzle, and if nothing else, if you don't have time to tour the entire plant, the Supernatural plant where they make these products, at least take a look at the Fucoidan machine, and it's just amazing how much thought Tom put into making that into this spray dryer, and so our product is, just in the sulfonation, we're 300 times more powerful than anyone else's product. But then when you look at how we concentrate it, I've heard some people say that we're several thousand times more powerful than any other Fucoidan.
Wow. Yeah, I believe Tom got a Genius of the Year award for that
Twice.
particular patent.
Twice, yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty incredible. There's so many good properties to Fucoidan. It's an immunomodulator, which I find fascinating. Can you try to explain what that means?
Say that again. I missed something there.
I find Fucoidan quite fascinating, as it's an immunomodulator. It can control the immune system. Can you explain what that means?
Well, it's pretty interesting. Like we were talking about earlier. I mean, it increases the insulin. Helps boost the insulin secretion. I mean, think about that. That's going to have an effect on your immune system. It increases the intestinal. It helps with the intestinal permeability. So it selectively allows things to come in and out. And you got to remember that 60 to 70%. Depending on what research you're reading, 60 to 70% of your immune system is found within your gut lining. And so if it's going to improve the intestinal permeability, it's going to improve the immunity of the body. And so it stimulates the thymus gland. And the thymus gland is another part of the immune system, and it increases the natural killer cells. So all of those things combined, it really makes that immune response work better, because it's improving every aspect of it, from the exposure to the virus or the bacteria, to every other aspect of it, including the killing of the invader, the bacterial invader.
Okay. And I also read somewhere that it's akin to mother's milk. That's a pretty big thing to say. That's huge, really, isn't it? There's a lot of
and
how that works anymore.
How that works, Trevor, is that when you were born, when you were just a little baby, and that that mother's milk, that first milk that's produced by mammals, whether you're a human or a dog or a cow or whatever, that mammals have that breastfeeding, and that first milk that's produced is designed to stimulate the baby mammal's immune system to kind of kick into gear, because prior to being born, the baby, the mammal, the infant, was surviving off of mama's immune system, tied through the umbilical cord. You're actually surviving on the immune system of the mother, and then when you're born, now all of a sudden that umbilical cord is cut, and if your immune system doesn't take over, then chances are, you're not going to survive very long. And so this mother's milk, that first secretion in milk, it stimulates the thymus gland. Remember earlier you heard me talk about the thymus gland. So it stimulates the thymus gland to kick into gear, and that's what stimulates your immune system to go into gear. So that's why it's called mother's milk, because Fucoidan has that ability. Here you are, I think you're in your 40s, right, Trevor? And if you had never been breastfed, if you were 40-some, 50-some years old, and you had never been breastfed with that mother's milk way back 40, 50 years ago, all of a sudden now you can do Fucoidan, and Fucoidan will stimulate your thymus gland today, just like if you were to get the mother's milk that you should have had 40 or 50 years ago. And let's look at modern society in a lot of places, the United States. A lot of mothers don't breastfeed, and so they don't do it for very long, and so that baby isn't getting that first mother's milk. They're not getting their thymus gland stimulated. So will they ever actually have as strong of an immune system as if they had that first mother's milk? Right? That's the question you got to ask yourself. And so shouldn't you give every person Fucoidan? And that's why, again, I give it to people. I say, here, you take this, and let me know in a month if you don't feel any better. And every single person I've given it to has felt better.
Wow, that's awesome to be able to create that situation. Just one last question from me. Once again, this Fucoidan does so much in the body. Inflammation, it can really help with inflammation in the body. Can you explain a bit of that, Curt, and why it's so good?
Yeah, and so with Fucoidan, they've discovered not only does it, have everything else, every other property that we've talked about, but it actually helps to reduce inflammation as well. And, I don't know, I think that, like, when I've done my reading on it, some of the stuff that it does, they really don't have a really good understanding of how it works. But with inflammation, it's part of the immune response is to cause inflammation, and inflammation is because it's going to stimulate your immune system. It's going to stimulate your antibodies to go to work to say, hey, there's something going on here that's not supposed to be going on. And so what Fucoidan will do then is it goes in there and it helps boost the effect of the immune system, and thereby reducing the inflammation.
Yeah, it's a great product.
I love it. Every day.
Curt, I noticed when I first started taking it that the bloating that I experienced in my body went away, and I would guess that's from several of the points that you talked about today.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, it's going to get rid of inflammation, it's going to help with the sugar, it's going to get rid of, any problems with leaky gut syndrome, it's going to boost the function of the immune system. I mean, every single one of those is going to help with bloating, and helping your body get rid of any extra problems from that.
Yeah, I'd like to just add in a bit of a testimonial here with my girl. She suffered or suffers from an autoimmune condition called tachyarthritis arteritis, and she's had wonderful results with the Fucoidan. Just looking at her inflammation markers in the body, the ESR and the CRP levels, they've been dramatically reduced just from being on the Fucoidan, as well as the Triangle, of course, the other products, but we believe the Fucoidan's been a great help for her. And yeah, it's been wonderful, really. Prior to, she just did have a surgery. She had an aortic valve replacement, but prior to that, her inflammation levels were really, really down, and we put it all down to the Fucoidan.
You bet, yeah. I mean, that Char's healing was just a miracle, right?
Yeah, it was. And she was unfortunately struck with some golden staph whilst she was in getting her aortic valve replacement prior to surgery. She had a cannula left in the arm for too long, and she contracted the staph, and I had a bag full of Sizzle products, but I let them know, of course, and I started pumping in a heap of Fucoidan as well as a few other products, but they could only really grow one culture, which was amazing. So they'll try and desperately to grow it a second and a third time, but they could only grow one culture, and I don't think antibiotics work that quickly, because once she contracted the staph, she was actually had to go through a 2-week protocol of antibiotics before they'd do a surgery. So we had to follow those guidelines, but they could only grow one culture, which was quite amazing. And I reckon the antibiotics would work that quickly. I'm pretty sure it's her immune system that knocked it out.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when I heard that story. It was just when you were telling. It was It really is helping boost the body's own ability to do what it's supposed to do. And there's several amazing plants like Fucoidan that grow around the world. And we need to start looking at these. That's why God put them here on the earth for us.
Yeah, another thing which was quite amazing too, this particular form of autoimmune, which sort of finds itself in the aortic branch, and when Shah had her aortic valve replaced, they were really concerned about the arterial wall around the aortic valve, and because they thought that she'd been on immunosuppressants, which is what they use for rheumatologists, kind of like to suppress the immune system, with methotrexates and prednisolanes and all those kinds of medications, and they were really concerned about the integrity of the arterial wall. And I had some really good conversations with rheumatologists and a few of the other doctors. But anyway, they insisted on doing a PET scan to look for inflammation and in that area prior to surgery, because they didn't want to have to open her up and just shut her up again, because she would have passed away, but more than likely. And anyway, when they did the PET scan, there was no inflammation whatsoever. And after surgery, the surgeon was really, really happy with how the surgery actually went, replacing that valve, and he said it just went really well, and he was really upbeat. So that's another reason I just thank, God for Sizzle and Tom for making these wonderful products, And I truly believe if Shah hadn't have been on a regime of these products, she wouldn't have been in the position that she's in, and it really helped her pull her through, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, I work with a lot of people that have immune challenges, and they have all sorts of situations. And again, we can't say cure. We can't allude to cure or treat or anything like that. So we want to be really careful and really get that out there. But it's just amazing when people are sick, when they have something going wrong. You give them this product and you say, here, take this, and they get better. And again, you can't make any medical claims, but you just go, you got to ask yourself, how did it work? And then you start looking into the science, and you find all these things that we've been talking about.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Trevor. Awesome.
No worries. That's about it for me, Curt. I can't really think of much else to ask. It's
All right. Well,
Okay.
and we've talked about 45 minutes here, so we should probably try and wrap it up. If you have any final questions, Katie or Andrea.
I think we were going to ask about dosages and like how much is too much. Like when do you reach the point where your body's absorbed what it can and that you're wasting the product? And then what do the products line up with synergistically with the Sizzle lineup? Like what does Fucoidan do? How does it interact with other products from Sizzle and make it even more powerful?
Yeah. Well, you really can't say dosages, because of the fact that it's not a drug, it's not a pharmaceutical. So there really is no dose. There's a recommended amount that we take every day based on the concentration of the Fucoidan in there. And that's for somebody who's, I'm going to say, moderately healthy, because how many of us are really truly healthy? But and for those of us that are moderately healthy, they found that a 3/4 ounce shot glass gives you the amount of Fucoidan that you need to keep your immune system working right, to keep your insulin response where it's supposed to be, to find all the great properties of this amazing plant extract, right? So 3/4 ounce. So when you buy a bottle of Fucoidan from Sizzle, you're getting a month's supply. You're getting a 30-day supply at that particular level. Now, when I'm working with somebody that has an immune challenge, whether it's cancer or an autoimmune problem, where rheumatoid arthritis, anything like that, again, not making any medical claims, I guess anecdotally, from watching other people who have taken more of the product, it seems like if they have an immune challenge, any kind of an immune problem, you can take more and it'll help out. How much more? Well, it really, because it is a product with a $50 a month price tag. I think a lot of it depends on how much can you afford to spend. If you're sitting there with a stage 4 situation and they're telling you, hey, Curt, you got days or months left on the planet, I'm going to try and do as much as I possibly can, and along with other products that I'll talk about. But that's really what I would do, and for somebody who's moderately challenged with something going on, do you need one bottle? Do you need 2 bottles? Do you need 3 bottles a month? Do you need, because again, each bottle gives you 1 3/4 ounce shot per day for a month. And so if I say to you, Andrea, well, I'd recommend that you probably do 3 doses a day. That means you need 3 bottles. At $50 a bottle, that's $150. So you gotta look at somebody's affordability. What can they afford to buy? Now, I know people who have had some certain stage 4 situations who were taking 7 bottles a month. They were going through 7 shots a day of just this one product. Can everybody do that? Absolutely not. But, so you have to kind of decide when you're talking to people. For those of you listening to the call, you have to talk to the people that you're working with. How much do you think you need? And really, we're all different. And so one person might respond to 1 shot a day, another person it might take 5 to get the same response. You just don't know. How does it work with other products? Well, based on everything that you've heard us talking about, you can imagine that there's other products that work alongside with it. We've got a product that when we first came out, it was called Sizzle Immune, and the regulatory bodies in the United States made us change the name because that implies that we do something with the immune system, and so we had to change the name of the product to Avenger, Sizzle Avenger, and it used to be known as Sizzle Immune. And so if you listen to what we talked about with the Fucoidan product, you can imagine that it's going to work with a product that was designed to help the immune system, and that's the Avenger product. So it's going to work really well with that. And there's a whole, we could spend an hour talking about that. I'm not going to get into that today because we don't want to take you time for another hour. But it works with the Eternity product. Eternity is a high-dose resveratrol, and resveratrol's got its own properties that help with certain health conditions, and one of them again being the anti-angiogenic, which means cutting off the blood supply to tumors, and resveratrol is considered to be in that realm as well. So you can imagine that Fucoidan really works well with that, and your body needs minerals, and so we've got the Spectramax 74 trace minerals, and delivered in a way that your body can put them to work right away. It's probably one of the most powerful nutraceuticals on the planet right now, and so it works with that. When we're talking about the new product that's coming out here within the next week, I heard in the United States, this AGE, the Advanced Glycated End product pill that we're coming out with, the AGE pill, it's going to work with that, because think of it. If you got a product that's going to take and pull the sludge out of your body and make your mitochondria, your energy-producing part of your cells, work better. Imagine boosting the immune system at the exact same time, and boosting the insulin response at the exact same time, and boosting the body's natural selective permeability at the exact same time. It's just got to work with that, and we talked about inflammation, and every single chronic disease on the planet has inflammation as one of the key components of that disease process. And so, so it's going to work with every single product. It's going to make every single product work better. So in answer to your question, Andrea, I'd give it with everything.
Awesome. I'm super excited about the AGE pill coming out. But to flip back to Fucoidan, I love the taste of that. I think I could drink a couple of wine glasses a day of it. And I don't know, I'll try to word this so that, we're not out of compliance, but this winter I had run out of Fucoidan and had it on order, and I came down with a health disruption that was pretty severe in my body, and I had heard a previous testimony of a mother sharing that when her children, become ill, she increases the dosages like every hour. She gives them Fucoidan. And, based on the research that it does boost the immune system or modulate it, she said they would get well within hours. And I couldn't wait to get my Fucoidan. I got it about 2 days later. And I just started every 3 to 4 hours just taking huge amounts of it. And within 30 hours, I had recovered my health. It was wonderful.
Wow, isn't that a cool story? Yeah, and I've seen the exact same thing. The guy who runs the kennel where I take my dog, when he can't go with me, and he had come down with the flu, and I happened to have an extra bottle of Fucoidan in my truck, and I handed it to him. I said, "Here, take this." He called me the next day. He said, "Curt, what's in there?" And I told him, and he says, I mean, this is the next day. He says, "My flu's gone. Gone."
Yeah, I
Wow.
call it the DOCTOR in a bottle.
There you go.
That's awesome. Thanks for
Well,
sharing.
thank you for all the information, Curt. It's great.
You bet. Isn't it something miraculous when we have something here that can work like that? And there's so many other plants that are found on the planet that have properties like this, and we just it's being, the information is being suppressed so that we don't hear about it. I mean, who couldn't benefit from this?
Exactly. It would be nice, I saw a correlation here because I read that like resveratrol in the grape plant is a natural substance for that plant that protects it against damage. And then I saw that with Fucoidan, it's the same thing, that it's the substance within the seaweed that when the seaweed gets damaged, this substance is its healer, the plant's healer. So if we go out, find more plants and discover what their healing substance is, think what we could do.
Right? Yeah, it's amazing. All right, everyone. Well, you have a great day. Katie, Andrea, Trevor, thanks for taking the time on this Thursday, in morning, evening, depending on where you're at, to be with us on the call. And thanks for everybody for joining us. And pass this information on to other people and have people listen to it. I think that once they understand what this can do, they'll want to be taking the product. And some people might say, well, it's $50 a month. I mean, that's almost $2 a day. And you have to share with them. You just say, but if it makes sense to you, you know that if you shared it with 5 or 10 people, you're going to find 3 or 4 people that are going to want to take the product. And if you do that and they start taking the product, the company pays you to share that information. And now your cost goes down, and it makes it more affordable for you, and it might even be free. And free is great. I always like free. And when you're going to quit taking it if the company's sending it to you for free. So everyone, share this information with people. Get it out there. Have a wonderful week here in the United States. Enjoy the 4th of July and celebrate our independence. Goodbye, everyone. I'll send out the recording in just a few minutes.
Goodbye.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Curt.
Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. That was great, Curt. Thank you.